Hey everybody, welcome back. Another video for Printed Performance. Got Chris here, got Mike here.
How's it going?
And sorry we haven't filmed in a while, but we really haven't had a lot to film after the car show. Actually during the car show I had a new camera and it had total garbage footage and I couldn't even use it. So we don't really get much from that except for a bunch of foot race stuff. We might include that here later.
Is that me winning?
Huh?
Is that me winning?
Yeah, Mike won, by the way. Spoiler alert.
Oh.
But anyways, we have some new work, and we've had other work, but not everybody wants their car builds blasted all over YouTube. So, but we got a new one. This is my coworker's car, and I think you remember him notching his block on one of the previous videos, and we finally got it back from the machine shop after the notching and everything, and we've got it in here. And you see it looks like a mess actually right now, but
it's an organized mess.
It's an organized mess. We're working on it. We had an issue with the wiring harness, so we're actually going to another level on this. So, but anyways, this is a D16 Z6 with a Z6 head, full Z6. It's got CP pistons in it.
Oh, it's bone stock.
Well, yeah, yeah, bone stock, right? Okay, but in reality, it's got CP pistons, Eagle rods, Fueltech springs retainers. It's also got
it's got brand new
Ferrera valves. Did you get Ferrera? What do you get?
Okay, he's got CP Carrillo, or is it CP? Yeah, CP Carrillo piston.
His whole build is back here.
He's got full flat face valves. 6,000 Ferrera racing valves. He's got Fueltech 93 pound, or I think they're 93 pounds. What it says?
Yeah, springs and retainers.
For the springs,
and
titanium retainers, brand new keepers. He's got unported head. In the future, I'm pretty sure I'll get down to that. But right now, we're just trying to get him to understand a boosted Civic.
I literally just taught this guy how to drive stick, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But like I said, we had a little bit of issues with the wiring harness. We got a wiring harness from the junkyard. It tested good with the multimeter. Everything tested out good. All the powers and grounds were looking good. But like, no matter what I could do, we couldn't get the car to start. And it would actually like we get it to run on starting fluid.
But yes. Yeah.
Yeah, we can get it to run on starting fluid. But we couldn't get to actually run. It was getting spark, but no fuel. It wasn't even getting pulses to the injectors from the ECU. Tracked it down. Turns out, like, even when I hooked a Honda up to it, it still wasn't really. I couldn't link up to it with a laptop because the ECU was like only turning on halfway. It seemed like it wasn't getting a power or a ground on one of the circuits.
Well, if anybody knows how to fix that right off the get-go, put that in the comments.
Yeah, but I think it's like a bad pin somewhere. But there's really no way to track that out because I can check it with a multimeter, but if I plug it in, it doesn't get connection, then, it still doesn't work. So, like, I tested it left to right, up and down. I was getting good continuity and grounds. I was getting good power on everything. It just was not working.
And I cleaned the injectors literally that day.
So, like I said, this thing is going to another level. That's why we're having to do this wiring harness, and this wiring harness is a Fueltech wiring harness. That's right, he went crazy. They were having a Black Friday special, and he went ahead and snagged one up. He got the wiring harness and the ECU for like $800, I think. It was some ridiculous price.
Should I pull it out?
I know that doesn't sound cheap to a lot of people, but if you know anything about Fueltechs, that is a good price.
That's just to get the ECU part, the harness part. That's not the clips. That's not the other pieces. That's not the nice. Not the nice covers that go over these. That's not the other pieces for like your RPMs, your O2 sensors. That's not none of that fancy stuff on the. It was good to get it this time of the year for them. He did it right. At least to get started.
I really should have bought a Fueltech, but my AEM is working just fine. So I didn't really see the need to. And I have to buy a 550 or a 650 to get on mine just because of how many outputs. Okay. But anyways, we got this thing all spaghettied up, and as you can see, it looks like a mess. And just FYI for anybody that tries to do a Fueltech harness, the unterminated harness is not a complete harness. Not even close. It only includes the wires that actually go to the ECU. You still have to add the power wires for the fuel injectors. You still have to add power wires for the distributor.
Yes, good point.
And it comes with a power wire for the throttle position sensor only because that's a 5-volt. That's the only reason it does that. But everything else, all the ground wires, ground harness, you got to make and
by no means are we knocking Fueltech for that. They just don't know what you need for your car specifically, so they give you a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah, and this is not a universal harness. This is an unterminated harness. Yep. So it is the bare bones setup. But that is all right. We know what we're doing. I've had a lot of education. I've actually had to contact Fueltech a couple times just to figure out how to wire the distributor. That's the only thing I wasn't really 100% sure on, so I really had no idea how to wire that up. But I contacted them. They sent me a wiring diagram, specifically how to do it on this distributor. So, but like I said, we're gonna get cracking on this. All I have to really left to do, I got the power harnesses pretty well made. I got to do a ground harness still, and then once we get that all together, we'll be ready to pull this thing back off and maybe start sheathing some stuff. So that's why I'm just going to put all the shrink tubing on, put the coverings on first, and the very last we're going to pin everything. But right now I'm just trying to get everything together where it needs to go. It's actually really simple. This might look complicated, but these wiring harnesses are actually way easier than I thought. Blue wires are outputs for injectors. It has 6 of them. I have 2 for auxiliary, so I can just do whatever. We're doing boost control with one over there, and the other one is going to be for VTEC on the spares. Then I'm going to have to run one of the auxiliary ignitions because I'm only running one of the ignition wires, so I have 3 spares for outputs that I can use as auxiliary outputs. So, but we got a lot of work to do. I'm going to get cracking on this. I'm going to set up a time lapse and hopefully get some stuff done. All right. Yeah. Hey everybody, got a lot of work done, as you can see here. We got all the injectors wired up. Yellow wires are powered, blue wires actually go back to the Fueltech, and they are assigned channels, and we can change them if we get them wrong in the menus. Got this one here for boost controller, and then we got TPS, got air intake temperature, and then we got coolant temperature over here. We don't have to worry about a map sensor one because the Fueltech actually has a map sensor on the back of it, so we just got to run a vacuum line back to it. It makes things a lot easier. We got a few extra wires here that actually aren't needed. So these are sensor inputs and ECU outputs. The grays are outputs, whites are inputs. So we have an extra one. So one of these we're actually going to use for engine start. So you're actually going to need a passcode to start this thing on the Fueltech, which is actually pretty cool. Yeah, because like auto theft on Hondas is kind of extreme. especially since they've gotten popular in the motorsports.
And this being Colorado, yes.
And this is a serious build. You really want to lock this thing up. This is about the nicest D series that you can get, other than we haven't done individual coil packs. Well, but that's literally like $100 away at this point.
This is one of the nicer ones, but remember, it is bone stock, so it just has a Fueltech on it.
But all we really have left to do on this harness is we have to rip it all off. I have to solder some wires together, splice them together to junction them, like these ground wires, and then I got to run a ground wire back to its typical grounding point, which is on Honda's on the thermostat housing. And really not much left to do. This is for the oil pressure sensor, but yeah. Anyways.
All of them so far, we've gotten to a point where, as you can see, if you know, you know. If you don't, well, we're trying to help. As they all come out of that circle, out of that hole over there in the firewall, I don't know how well you can see that, they start splitting, and we started taping off into little, there's 2 there, there's 6, blah, 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 blah. You see how it goes, you know how it goes, to make it look nice. We won't start shortening them up. We have shortened, obviously, the injectors, a couple of them so far, but you can't cut them too short. You'd rather it too long than you make it up slack in there. But it's getting there. We're getting there. We are learning as we go. It's super awesome to have this opportunity to do this. So,
but it's really weird on the Fueltech when you're wiring the distributor. On the stock distributor, it's got 10 wires going to it, but by the time you get done with the distributor, it's only got 5 wires going to it. You're like half the wires. It's kind of crazy.
It's mind-boggling to the average mind like me, Chris, having higher electrical technology brain than I do, and knowledge, how you can go from what you just said, 10 to 4?
5, yeah.
10 to 5.
5 wires. There's not actually. We gotta get rid of one of the wires. There's only gonna be 4 wires because it's not needing a ground wire on the distributor, which is what it says. But I think it's gonna ground out through one of the other signal wires. So I think that's how it's gonna work. Alright everybody, check it out. Got the wiring harness all in and clipped up. Got it repinned. All new pins here. It's pretty hard to see because the wiring harness blends in pretty well with all these coolant hoses. This is kind of the idea. I just ran out of cold shrink tape here. This is just some looming material from local auto parts store. Some Dorman stuff. And then just need to get some cold shrink tape to finish this up. I ran out. But pretty much all the wire plugs are done. Except for this reverse switch wire right here. Just got to get a plug for that. Wire that into there. And that can go into the fuse box. And got his headlights all redone. He actually did these himself, my friend Ryan. And they came out really nice. He sanded them down and then clear coated them. But instead of clear coating with regular clear coat, I don't know if you can see it in there, but he used DuPont Clear Effects, which has like a glitter in it. And it came out really nice. It looks really cool. I don't know if you can see on the camera, but it looks awesome in person. And really the only thing that's left in here is for the wiring is just the spaghetti mess that's in here. Had to get a light. Yep. Yeah, it's not actually as bad as it looks. There's just a few wires here to mess with. So we got, alright, these wires right here, they are for the alternator, for the field power wires, and so the alternator will work. These right here, those are the reverse wires I was just showing you. Those gotta go to the fuse box and then back to the brake lights. All these wires here, these are going to the main relay. These 2 yellow wires, those are the power wires for the injectors as well as the coil pack and the distributor. And then we got power wire for the ECU right here. This is for the Fueltech. And then this right here is the trigger for the relay to trigger the fuel pump. And so the fuel pump will turn on. And hey puppy. But anyways, and then that's about it. This white wire, this is just a sensor wire. He's going to use that so he can command his rolling anti-lag. And then he's just got these 2 ground wires. This one is the power ground wire. Or this one is actually power ground wire for the ECU. And this one is a logic ground. This actually needs to go directly to the battery with nothing else hooked up to it. And we got, that's going to be the newest one. This is actually printing out of ABS in my big boy hot printer here. That is the newest version of his gauge bezel piece. When is overloading the backup power supply? Oh, it's done. Okay, it's cool. Under certain circumstances, this thing can barely overload that power supply right there. I've been thinking about getting a second one to run the heat bed by itself, so they're 2 independent power supplies. But, anyways, and that is that guy right there. And we had a gnarly idea that we could do. I have, actually right over here, in this spool holder, I have this spool of ABS. But what's really cool about this spool of ABS is it glows in the dark. Look at that. That's gonna be really cool as a gauge bezel. Get that subtle glow. And also, if you shine black lights on this stuff, it will glow even brighter. And it actually charges up really good with that stuff too. So we're thinking about doing some shenanigans so we can light up that glow in the dark and make it glow on command whenever we want. And another thing, I started welding up Ryan's valve cover so he can put his bungs on there. And I don't know why I thought there was a baffle right behind here when we did it, because we don't have room up on top here for 90s to put ANs right there. So what we were thinking, what I did, since these are right here and you're gonna get a lot of splashback from that, what I did is I actually welded a little piece I made out of some angle aluminum that I had lying around, and just welded that in there in a few spots. And now that is a nice little baffle, and it's not totally flush up because it's got a lot of air gap, so it should allow a lot of room for air to get past, but hopefully block as much oil as possible. So I'm gonna see how that works. It's a little bit of experiment there, you know. Alright, that's gonna do it for this update of this video. I'm not gonna lie, this thing's been about a couple months in the making. Just waiting on parts, doing the holiday stuff, getting everything good to go, and on top of that, waiting on parts. Because you don't know what you need until you know you need it. So, stuff like this. Gotta love custom cars. But we're getting smacking. That's gonna do it for this video. Thank you for watching, guys. Have a good night.
Oh, he won by an arm.
Oh.
All right, that's the final. You need a little breather? No. Okay, you ready? 1, 2, 3, go. Oh, my boy got some speed. You might be half flat, baby. You got the extra lift. Yeah. Good job, man. Hey, go get your t-shirt.